Welcome everyone, this is DerekJ Speaks, and today we are talking about AEW Dynamite, live from Cincinnati, Ohio on October 18th, 2022, live on a Tuesday night rather than Wednesday night. Dynamite was preempted due to MLB playoffs right now, so they were bumped to Tuesday night. For the first time in over a year, AEW went up against NXT. So that's a very special thing there. They promoted this show to be a big night built around Title Tuesday because they had 4 different championships on the line tonight. The AEW Trios Tag Team titles, the Interim Women's Championship, the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship, and of course the AEW World Championship defended in the main event with Hangman Adam Page challenging Jon Moxley. And these two men went out there and had what was an overall very fun match until the very unfortunate conclusion where Hangman suffered a very brutal injury. So to set the spot up, like I said, it was a very fun match up until this point. Good back and forth. Moxley, of course, was bleeding because, So we get to a point in the match where both men are across the ring from each other. Hangman comes out of the corner, charges right at Moxley, and he is hit with a huge lariat from Moxley. And this lariat was intended to kind of flip Hangman inside out, flip over and all that kind of stuff, do the wild sell for it. But unfortunately, in doing so, when he flipped over, Hangman landed directly on his head, almost like the side of his head, and just planted right on the mat and laid there motionless for a very long time. And this was absolutely horrifying to see. I didn't see it first run. So as it was happening on TV, I didn't see it right away. I kind of looked away for just a brief second, whether I was looking at Twitter, looking down at my notes, whatever I was doing. I looked away for a brief moment, so I didn't see it immediately. But while sitting there seeing Hangman laid out, wondering what the hell just happened, I had to rewind it, and I did see the move, and it just looked completely rough. It looked so scary and so sickening to see Hangman land on his face and his head and neck like that. The referee was checking on him. Doc Samson, he was out at ringside. You knew it got really serious because he didn't just check on him from outside and kind of look at him, see if he was a little banged up or something like that. Samson got in the ring to check on Hangman. So that's how you knew this was very serious. It was not a part of the show. A part of me, I will admit, very, very briefly did think that maybe this was a part of the match. Maybe they're doing an injury angle to explain away Hangman not getting the win here, because I at no point expected Hangman to win the championship on this show. So maybe this is a way to have him lose without actually getting beat, without actually pinning him. But that was not the case. This was very real. You could tell the atmosphere just completely flattened. The commentators were very serious and very somber, especially Taz. He looked very shaken up about this entire thing while it was happening and afterwards, because they called for the bell and they gave the cue to Justin Roberts to announce that the referee had stopped this match and Jon Moxley is still the champion. So they had to stop the match, which made absolute sense. I am very glad that they did, and they didn't try to continue it. They didn't try to have him push through. It didn't look like the man was even moving. It looked like this man just landed directly on his head and was just lying there motionless. I believe he started to kind of move around a little bit, but you could tell he was not all there. And they were cutting over to the announcers. They were talking, And then they proceeded to cut away from the ring and all the doctors and referees and people checking on Hangman. So they cut to the commentators. They're running down the match card for Rampage this week and Dynamite next week. Taz, out of all three men did a really good job here, staying very serious, very professional, and also showing true emotion here. But Taz, among the three of them especially, was very shaken up about this situation. He took his sunglasses off, so that's how you knew this was serious. But, in all seriousness, he was very shaken up, and he looked very emotionally distraught over what just happened, because he mentioned that this is something that happened to him. A very similar situation happened to him, and of course he's alluding to a very severe neck injury that he suffered in his career that really shortened his career overall. So he has a very personal connection with what just happened here. So they were trying their best to stay professional. They still had several minutes left in the show, and they filled that time with Moxley getting on the microphone, gave his respect to Hangman, and he called out MJF. Now, MJF, they showed up in the skybox holding his poker chip that he won it all out, and then they cut to later on in the match, and they cut back to that same spot, and MJF is gone. So it makes you think, what's going to happen here in the rest of this match? Is MJF going to come out? He's going to cash in, get his championship match on this show. But he came out here after the match. He got in the ring looking like he was ready to fight, looking like he was cashing in his chip, about to challenge for the title right here and now. But instead, he dipped out, ran up the stage, got a microphone from the announcer's desk, and he said that if he's going to do this, if he's going to challenge Moxley, he's going to do it when Moxley is fully healthy, 110%, so he can beat him clean and prove that he is the better man and prove that he is deserving of the AEW World Championship. So he challenged Mox to a championship match at Full Gear, the next AEW pay-per-view coming in a few weeks, just next month, because next month is in a few weeks, believe it or not. So he challenged him to a match for Full Gear, and he said that for the first time in his career, he is going to earn it. That played into the promo battle between MJF and William Regal earlier in the night. So then Mox gets on the mic and he does his retort here, and this all felt very on the fly between between MJF and Moxley, due to the situation that just transpired with Hangman Page. It's no doubt in my mind that this was going to be the setup for the Full Gear announcement, but the back and forth promo between the two of them, especially with Moxley, felt very off the cuff, on the fly, and felt very genuine in the moment due to what just happened. And that is just a testament to both men and their professionalism and their greatness in this business at doing what they do and being able to refocus the crowd and kind of distract them momentarily and get them back on track as far as what's going on right now and what they're trying to build up to. So kudos to both men for being classy and professional here, and good on them. It does not really resonate with me right now, only because of the very severe situation that just took place with Hangman Page, because it really sucks when you see guys get hurt in the middle of a match, especially something that severe. I'm not trying to sit here and speculate, but we're talking about a potential concussion here, a neck injury, something along those lines, and it's just very unfortunate that that main event had to end that way and that Hangman had to suffer such a severe injury like that. So I just wanted to come on here and give my best wishes to Hangman and wish him a full, speedy recovery from whatever the hell this is. Obviously, we don't know exactly what it is because it just happened. So whatever it is, I just hope he gets checked out, he's fine, he can make a full recovery, and he can continue his normal everyday way of life. Taking wrestling off the table for a moment, because it's not all about that. You can put wrestling to the side. That's not what's important here. What's important here is this is a man who lives his own life, who has a family, he has a wife, he has a child, and you just hope that nothing that we saw here, as brutal as it looked, nothing will damage anything in this man's everyday way of life. And I just completely give my full best wishes. I send prayers, send thoughts, send all kinds of positive, good energy, good vibes, whatever you want to call it, all in the way of Hangman Page right now. And I encourage all of you to do the same. Whatever it is that you believe in, just best wishes to Hangman and his recovery right now, because that was a very brutal, disturbing injury to see on this show. And all you can do is just hope for the best. So to pivot away from that very momentarily, it is big news that that they made it official, the championship match for Full Gear. I think everyone expected it was going to be MJF and Moxley at Full Gear, and we got it made official here. This was not the first time we saw MJF on this show. He had a very great back and forth promo battle with William Regal earlier in the night. Both men put on a promo masterclass for everyone to enjoy. MJF was just telling a story about him having a tryout with WWE, and William Regal basically told him that you're going to get a job here in WWE. I guarantee you. I don't believe he used the word guarantee here in this promo, but he implied that William Regal promised him a job in WWE. And after months of sending in tapes and all that kind of stuff, William Regal basically went back on his word and denied MJF, sent him this full email denying him and telling him that he needs to grow and become a better star and become what they are actually looking for. MJF talked about how this completely rocked his world here. He even said that he wanted to kill himself because of this email from William Regal. But now, all these years later, he looks at that email and he laughs. He finds it funny. He finds it a joke because he looks at William Regal as a joke. Because here MJF is standing tall and proud, one of the biggest stars in the company. Meanwhile, William Regal got fired from that other company. He called Regal a sad, withered old man who is leeching onto men who are far more talented than he ever was. And this led to a retort from William Regal, who said that he was trying to light a fire under MJF's ass and inspire him and motivate him, and said that if that email was the thing that MJF needed to really light a fire within him, then he got off easy. And he mentioned how MJF is very talented and he is a great competitor, but he takes too many shortcuts and he's not willing to put himself through the ringer and really dig down deep and be the full-on guy that he has always seen him as being. He called MJF's bluff, turned his back to welcome MJF to attack him, but MJF did nothing. And that was the end of the segment. It was just great work here. We kind of had an inkling that we were going to get some kind of confrontation between William Regal and MJF on the mic, in the ring at some point. And we got it here, and it did not disappoint. So, great stuff there. Elsewhere on the show, I'm not going to really get into the full details of every single other thing, but we did have a few other things on the show. We had championship matches. We opened the show with the Trios tag team title match, Best Friends challenging Death Triangle. Death Triangle retained their titles in a very fun opener. We got a little tease of there being dissension between Pac and Rey Fenix during this match, so we'll see if that plays out in the future. Also had an interim Women's World Championship match on this show with Toni Storm defeating Hikaru Shida in a really great match. Jamie Hayter, Rebel, and Britt Baker, who was wearing a Steelers jersey, came out. Saraya came out. She brawled with Britt in the crowd. Got the return of Riho, who attacked Rebel, hit a big dive outside onto Jamie Hayter. So Riho's back, everyone. That's fun. And we also had Chris Jericho defending his Ring of Honor World Championship against Dalton Castle in one of the weaker matches on the show, but still a fun match for what it was. I'm enjoying this run with Jericho as the Ring of Honor champion and going up against former champions to disgrace the history of Ring of Honor. He tried to attack, he and his Jericho Appreciation Society members tried to attack Ian Riccaboni at the commentary table after the match, but then one of the AEW producers and former Ring of Honor World Champion Jerry Lynn came out and put the kibosh on that, but he got attacked for his troubles and got tombstoned onto the ROH title belt on the stage, so that could set up a potential future championship match with Chris Jericho and Jerry Lynn on a future episode of Dynamite in these next few weeks. So there were a few other things. There were a few backstage segments. There was a segment with FTR and Swerve in Our Glory that hyped up a big match between the two teams next week, a number one contenders match between those teams, and a few other things, but that was really the main important things. The main important point of this video was for me to just give my thoughts on what happened with Hangman and to just send out my thoughts and prayers to him and his family right now and wish him a speedy recovery. I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit, but it was a very shocking thing to see. So I give myself a little bit of grace there and just hope that I'm doing my best to explain and express how I feel about that situation. And I want to thank you all for listening and thank you all for joining me. And I will be back here on the channel to cover more wrestling content, more movies, whatever it is I feel like talking about. And I hope you all have a really good night, and thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter at DerekJ Speaks. And again, thank you all. Really appreciate all of you. So have a good night.